Henga is a small group of locals out here at Bethells to Henga who are looking at why it is that our lagoon is closed to swimming and what we can do to improve the quality of the water out there. Now I'm going to share my screen and tell you a little bit about a study that we did a couple of years ago and where we're going from there. Now let's see, it's going to be that one. Now, have I got a shared, can you see a shared screen, anybody? No? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay, you can see the water quality thing?
You can see yellow things.
Yellow things on a picture of Bethells.
Yep.
Google map. Great, we're rocking then. Okay, so what we chose to do here was, it's all going to hang up probably because my very good. Did that just change to a graph? I don't know what you're seeing because it looks different than what I thought I was showing you. Can someone tell me if I can see a graph?
No graph.
Okay, so let's see if that's going to be now.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so the problem we had was that the lagoon, as I said, was closed for swimming. The reason for that was E. coli contamination. So that's fecal contamination of the water that the council considers, based on the New Zealand guidelines, is too high for safety, and so they closed the lagoon for swimming. The beach remained open. This is some data we got together from the last few years, just to get an indication of how often there was a problem. The red component there is when you would close a beach, so that's about 23% of the time over 2013 to 2016, and that's pretty typical for closed beaches, I would have to say. And sometimes you can see from the little graph next to it, sometimes those numbers were enormously high in that analysis. So clearly a sporadic contamination problem happening at the lagoon. So what we decided to do, the group of started at about 20, got down to about continue with us, was to set up some sites to sample in the stream. So here's the lagoon down here at the bottom at number 5. The Waitakere River coming down when it comes out of the Te Henga wetland, and of course from the Waiti stream up here. The bridge that you might know you drive across where the car park is for Lake Wainamu is just here at site 2. Okay, so we did some sampling over the summer of 2017-18, and we collected water samples. We got those analysed based on a grant. This is quite expensive stuff. We got a grant from the community board, for which we were very pleased, so we could do sampling over the summer that year at all those sites. Now, what we found was that we got sporadic high levels of E. coli in the lagoon, sporadic high level, generally quite related, high levels of E. coli in the river. If we checked in the wetland, that was fine. Which was interesting because in previous studies by the council, the wetland had higher levels of E. coli. When we went up the stream, we found at the bridge the levels were really high, and as we got further up the stream, there wasn't the same high levels of E. coli there. Again, all this data was a bit sporadic. And this is a bit of a summary of what we found over the whole summer. So we then submitted some samples the next year for source tracing analysis, which is a molecular marker evaluation to see what the sources of E. coli might be in those at those places. And what we found, we also looked at the effect of weather, was that rainfall affected the E. coli numbers coming out of the wetland and coming at the start of the Waiti stream, so they're headwaters essentially. We found that birds were present, bird E. coli was present everywhere, unsurprisingly, I suppose, with seagulls and ducks and geese and what have you all over the place. We also found that there was a bit of a background of ruminants in most of these places. Previous studies had shown that birds and ruminants had been the main source of contamination, and the council had put a bit of money into subsidising and supporting some fencing and catchments, and that I think has worked quite well in that it reduced the amount of contamination from those sources that were happening in the catchment. Things that were interesting is that there was a lot of dog contamination, not coming out of the wetland, but certainly present in all the other sites. And it's interesting, up here on the Waiti stream, this is where, or about here on the Waiti stream, this is where people walk up to the lake, and while there's no dogs supposed to be up there, you see plenty of dogs. As most of you go there. But the most important findings related to people. At the bridge here in Waiti stream, there was human contamination occurring sporadically, and it was detected also in the lagoon on a couple of samples that we did. So bit of a problem that we found associated with the Waiti stream. Maybe the car park, maybe people going to the lake, maybe septic tanks, we didn't know. So we took this to council. The council looked at our data, said, yeah, okay, this is important, and started a program of looking at the septic tanks in the area, and that program is ongoing. Once they've got themselves through that program, they're going to fund us to do another set of samples down the stream over a summer to find out whether we managed to get an improvement or not. So that outcome, I guess, for us at the moment, we're in contact with council as they work their way through the process of negotiating with people around septic tank quality improvement. We've also asked for toilets at the car park there, and the council are also working on that. I think what we understand is they're having problems finding appropriate land for some toilets right there at that car park, but really necessary given the number of visitors there are there in the day in summer. And I think that's it for my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions either in chat or here.
If we could confine the questions to the chat. Thank you, Gillian. That was actually very interesting. And we'll move on to the next speaker just to sort of stay on